on this last section because clearly we have some gaps, and this last chapter 5 test builds on the previous two. So for instance, if you blew the factoring on the last test, you're about to blow it on the third test, so that's why we're still hitting it hard today, tomorrow, and Thursday, because Friday we have another test and we cannot blow the factoring part twice. So that's why we're taking it a little slower than we actually should. Most other classes are testing Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, I don't want to start with number 5. Why do I want to skip number 5 at first? Yes, I heard it from Kenzie first. Thank you. Get your point. I want to go to number 6. Why do I like number 6? What do I like specifically about number 6?
This one is factored out by 2.
You can take out a 2. What else can you take out?
A, B, and B.
Okay, so it's got a GCF. That's why it's my favorite. 2, get a point. If I take out a 2, AB, I'm left with
2AB.
Okay.
And then plus A.
Okay.
And then minus 5B.
Perfect. Okay, can I factor what's in parentheses any further? No. So that is our answer and we're happy. Technically, pulling out a GCF is sometimes the best factoring we can do. Okay, number 7 is an easy one. Because we can group it. Thank you, Arturo. Get another point if we put our things in groups. So besides Arturo, what can we take out of that first group? Okay, if we take out an X, what are we left with? Okay, I heard you loud and clear, Mia, so you can have the point. Okay, here's where some people are getting a little fishy on me, so I need you to be specific. What do I write now? What am I pulling out of the second group? Okay, I have someone really smart in this class whose test I was just looking at, and they forget to put the sign here. They'll put the 1 and the y minus 2, but they don't put the sign. And that leads to trouble, because they'll write the y minus 2 correctly on the next line, but they might put x minus 1, x plus 1. They don't know which one to put because they forgot to put their sign there. Okay, so I've actually got x plus 1, but again, it's because I put my sign there. You can't skip that sign, and it'll end up messing up your last line. Are there any questions on 6 or 7? Then let's back it up to number 5. I skipped it at first because of that leading coefficient of a 3, but I can still guess and check it. I'm smart. It's going to be a 3p and a p. Those are my only options because 1 times 3 is 3. There's no other options with the first part of our binomials. The second part is where I've got some options. I need to know what multiplies to give me 5, so I can either do 1 and 5. I could do 1 and negative 5. It might be negative 5 and 1. I've got to decide which one and what sign and where. Any guesses? So, Eduardo, you were starting to guess first, and if yours is wrong, I'm going with Seth. What did you say, Eduardo? Oh, I thought it was you. Go ahead, Seth. And what did you want to do? Plus 5 and minus 1. Let's try it. That's what guess and check is. We guess, we check. So the first, if we FOIL it out, first would be 3p squared. Outer, negative 3p. Inner, plus 5p. Last, minus 5. He is so close. But what's wrong? It's supposed to be a positive 2p. And a negative 2p, and instead we got a positive 2p. So we've got a sign error. So what should I go back and do? Literally, we're just going to go back and change the signs. We'll get a point. So let's see, 3p minus 5, p plus 1. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to check this one in my head. 3p squared, yep. Plus 3p minus 5p, yep, that's negative 2. Minus 5, so perfect. This is the answer. Terrific. Tomorrow we're doing 8, 9, and 10. Yes, ma'am.
Is Natalie Ellison in there?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, tomorrow we're doing 8, 9, and 10. I promise you, if you come in this room and tell me the answer to number 9 is just a positive 3, I'm going to be mad. If you practice factoring those perfect cubes, you need to use SOAP and factor. 9, 10, and 11 tomorrow. Let's go to your notes from yesterday. We had done 1 and 3, right? And then we stopped. Okay, let's go to number 2. Go ahead and graph him in your calculator. He looks long and complicated. So we were talking yesterday about how to find all the zeros. And there is a theorem that you could use, but honestly the theorem's a pain in the rear. Instead of using a theorem to figure out where all my zeros are, I cheat and I use my graphing calculator to help me get a good head start on where to guess. X to the 4, 6x to the 3, 20x squared plus 4x. Okay, if you start thinking, hey, I've graphed wrong, back to those good graphing skills we were supposed to have learned from the last test. My leading coefficient is a positive 1. My highest degree is a 4, so I automatically know this should be a W. So I was a little freaked out at first when I graphed number 2 and did not get a W. I bet if I changed my zoom, I would see a W, so I could go zoom fit, just to make sure it really is a W and I'm not crazy. But it's normally a bad idea to zoom fit in this section because zoom fit sure does make it look like we cross the x-axis more than we do. So my favorite zoom for this section is zoom standard. And zoom standard just means you see your normal 10 by 10. And yeah, again, I was freaking out because it looked like, here, I shouldn't turn the light on, it does not help. I was freaking out because I didn't see a W, I just saw a U. But it's going to be okay because we might have some imaginary roots. So it's okay. I do have a good guess though. Where's the one spot we do see it crossing the x-axis? And then if I want to check that, what button should I press? Well, I think it's -3. Yeah, if you'll press trace, and then you think it's -3, right? So press the right negative symbol, then 3. Press enter. I will turn the light on. That does look ridiculous. Okay, so if you'll press trace, and then tell it the value you think. I think -3, it's 0. It is, so I really do have a 0 at -3. So that's good. But sad day, what's our degree on this problem? 4. So we need 4 answers. And right now I've only come up with 1. Now I will gladly give you a point if you can tell me something special about this answer based off this graph. There's something special about this -3, and I can tell from that graph. Say what now? Well, it crossed the x-axis, so it's not imaginary. There's something special at that -3. I can tell from the way this graph looks. Say what was that? Yeah, I can tell it has an even multiplicity y. And it bounces instead of crossing 3. So I know that that spot has a multiplicity of 2, at least. It might be 4. So all that means in my head is that, again, I'm expecting a list of 4 things. -3 is going to be on that list twice. So again, at the end of the day, I was expecting a list of 4 things because my degree was 4. But I know truly -3 is going to be 2 of those things. And the reason I knew that is because I'm smart and I just took a test on that. If it bounces at that point, it must have a multiplicity there, which means we have multiple of the same answers there. Heck, all 4 answers might be -3. We're not sure. We gotta look into this. Okay, yesterday we discussed if at first you could somehow factor this, great. If you can't factor, we're going to our good old friend, what? What are we going to use to check to see what else goes into this besides -3? You did it yesterday. You did it on Friday as well. What are we going back to from the first test? We are, Archer, I heard you get a point. Going back to synthetic division. I'm using -3 in my house. I write down my leading coefficients, 1, 6, 73, 384, 576. And while this looks like a pain, yesterday we discussed what should I always get as my remainder in this section. I ought to, yes, 4, you can have a point. I ought to get 0 every single time because we think for sure this is a root, so there can't be any remainders. Okay, bring number 1. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. 3 times negative 3, negative 9. 73 minus 9, 64. 64 times negative 3, negative 192. 384 minus 192 is positive 192. 192 times negative 3, I get negative 576, and then I'm 576. And I'm happy because positive 576, negative 576, I really did get that remainder of 0. So now I know my math is correct. So what we know so far is that negative 3 is one of the answers. We're trying to figure out the other 2 answers because, again, we understand negative 3 is the answer 2 times. So we're trying to figure out the other 2 answers because it's degree 4. We divided negative 3 in, and now since this was a 4, we start 1 less. So it's x to the 3rd plus 3x squared plus 64x plus 192. And since when we set it equal to 0, we end up using the opposite side, I know this is actually x plus 3 in order for my solution to be a negative 3. And I write it because I think it helps me, but if you don't want to write that because you've already dealt with that bad boy, I totally understand. Okay, and you're like, Miss Compton, I give up. I don't know how to factor that long thing, but you do. You group it because there are 4 terms. 2 get another point. So everything we just did on the last test and everything we're practicing in the math workshop, lo and behold, you need it for this test. So we've still got that x plus 3. What can I pull out of that first group? Okay, every group can have a point. If I pull out an x squared, I've got an x plus 3. What do I pull out of the second group? And that's what we were hoping to pull out because we need it to be just x plus 3. So yes, life has worked out because I've got the x plus 3s. So I've got an x plus 3. I've got an x squared plus 64. And I've got an x plus 3. And hopefully you wrote a little tinier than me. If not, you can join me here at the top because I got to rewrite some of this at the top because I'm out of room. Okay, I'm smart. I realize we wrote x plus 3 twice, so I realize we have x plus 3 squared, which, again, it's all full circle. I knew it was supposed to be an x plus 3 squared because I already realized from the graph that negative 3 had a multiplicity of 2. So I'm not surprised that I get to write this. In fact, I expected that. If we hadn't written that, then I would be surprised. Okay, so I set it equal to 0. So you can see how we got negative 3 twice because I did x plus 3 equal to 0. I get x equals negative 3. But again, because that degree is 2, I realize it has a multiplicity of 2. So it's really like I have negative 3 twice. When I do x squared plus 64 equal to 0, what do I end up getting as my 2 imaginary roots? Yeah, but
you have to.
yeah, then you take the square root, and then I'm doing a lot of this in my head because I already passed the test on this. The answer is
Plus or minus 8i.
thank you. You can have a point. But I knew that to begin with, and you were supposed to because we have tested on that too. So my answers are negative 3, plus 8i, minus 8i. I finally have all 4 answers. Do what, dear? Well, you would get counted off. That is a great question, Winnie. You can have a point for that. So Don Terrence asked, What if he just remembers to do plus? He doesn't put the plus or minus. He just does 8i. Now, I'm impressed, and I'm going to take off maybe 1 point. But at the end of the day, he knew he was supposed to have 4 answers. And if he only has plus 8i, he only has 3 answers. So he should have caught himself at that point anyway. I'm not going to take off much, because Lord knows we're all in a hurry. But he's still smart enough to not make that mistake. Okay, are there any questions on number 2? Then let's deal with, we've already done 1 and 3. Let's deal with 4. 4's not bad. We'll do 2 more and then it's your turn. Okay, so I graph 5x to the 4th minus 8x to the 3rd plus 41x squared minus 72x minus 36. Before I hit graph, what am I expecting to see on my graph? Yes, you have a point. It's x to the 4th and it's a positive leading coefficient. I should have a w. Now that might be a w in a strange land, but it is ugly for us. It looks like the zeros are at 2, and I don't know what that other one is. Negative, is that negative 1.5 or negative 0.5? Okay, I'm happy with that one. The 2 I can see, but this one's between 0 and 1, which means it's a fraction. I'm not sure I want to touch that beast at the moment. So, but I want to confirm the 2, so I'm going to press trace, 2, enter, and for sure, yes, 2 is one of the answers. We're going to have 4 answers, and 2 is one of them. Good for us. We can see another one of the answers. I believe you, we can see it. I think it's like negative 0.5 or something. That's what it looks like at least. But we're not going to start guessing stuff on that one yet. We're just going to use the 2 to help us with synthetic. And hopefully we'll figure out that weirdo one using factoring instead of using graphing. That's my name. Oh yeah, you could trace negative 0.5 and check. And it's not at negative 0.5. So, bummer. Because it would have said y equals 0. Bummer. We'll figure it out. We got this. Yep, I picked the hard one. Oh well. So we know there are 4 answers. We know one of the 4 answers is 2. So we're going to use synthetic to try to help us figure out the others. So I put 2 in the house, and I put the leading coefficient. So 5, negative 8, 41, negative 72, negative 36. And I knocked this out pretty fast. Bring down my 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 41 plus 4 is 45. 45 times 2 is 90. Negative 72 and 90 is positive 18. 18 times 2 is positive 36. And I did that fast, but I'm happy. I know I did it right because, again, if it really is a 0, I'm going to have this remainder of 0. Yes, one, you can have a point. If I did this correctly, I'm supposed to get a 0 there, so I'm right. So far I know I've got x minus 2 again because positive 2 is an answer. We were degree 4, so with the 5, this green line, I need to start off 1 less degree. So I've got 5x to the 3rd plus 2x squared plus 45x plus 18. I need to factor this. Not Arturo. Yes, Seth, you have another point. I did. I really did, Arturo. We're going to use grouping because there's 4 things again. What can I pull out of the first group? X squared. If I pull out an x squared, I've got a 5x plus 2. What can I pull out of the second group? Okay, if I pull out a 9, I've got a 5x plus 2 again. 6. Was that you? I thought it was you, Eduardo, but I keep thinking I hear you and I don't. Okay, you can have your point. So that means I've actually got x squared plus 9, 5x plus 2, and of course that bad boy I just keep on bringing down the x minus 2. But if you want to erase him and get rid of him, I understand we've already dealt with him. We already know he's a positive 2. Duh, I got that. We're worried about the others. Okay. We've already done x minus 2 equal to 0. We did it in our head because Lord knows we're out of room because they did not give us space on this paper for all this. We know x minus 2 equal to 0 gives us the 2. When I set 5x plus 2 equal to 0, what do I get? So close. You did. You're so close. Yes. So you'd have 5x equals negative 2, so x equals negative 2 over 5. I'm telling you, you were so close. We'll give 1 and 3 a point.
And the last one.
Okay, so, you know, Kelsey and I were guessing. Again, before we go to the last one, because Arturo is going to bless and tell me the 2 imaginary ones. We got the positive 2. The weirdo fraction one we saw in our graph that we thought maybe was at 0.5 is actually at 2 over 5, whatever that decimal is. So again, back to thank God for factoring. It helped us figure out exactly where that weirdo one is. So if I asked for trace negative parentheses 2 divided by 5, yep, that's one of the zeros. Now, would I have thought to guess that on my own? Heck no. So thank goodness I can factor pretty well by now. Speaking of factoring pretty well, when I set x squared plus 9 equals to 0, what should I... Say it again? Yes. And you can have a point. So I should have gotten x squared equals negative 9. I take the square root, so I'm taking the square root of a negative. So I've got plus or minus the square root of negative 9, hence why we've got the plus or minus 3i. Thank God somebody's on Earth today. And I'm happy because I see 2, negative 2/5, plus 3i, minus 3i. Finally got 4 answers. I was degree 4. I'm happy. Life's good. Let's try one more, and we're not going to try number 5, because if you thought that negative 2/5 was annoying, number 5 has an annoying fraction as well. In fact, let's go down. Our last one we'll do today is number 7. It's got an annoying fraction, but it's not as ugly. It annoyed me less. If you're going to have a fraction, don't be too annoying. Okay, so let's graph number 7 and see what happens. Okay, before I show you my screen, what was I expecting to see? I heard it. I was expecting to see a W. Yes, you can have your point. I was expecting to see a W, both 3 and 6. I was expecting to see a W because it was a positive 4. If that is a W, it's a W written by a 3-year-old. But hey, look, we got some solutions. I'm super excited about this one because of the multiplicity, and plus, don't we need 4 answers, right? So if that's a multiplicity of 2, so that's 2 of the answers, 2, 3, 4. For once, we see all 4 on the screen. Thank God they're non-imaginary. I know they're non-imaginary because I can literally see all 4 on the screen. 1, 2, 3, but I realize that one has a multiplicity of 2 because it bounces, so I see all 4 on the screen. Hot diggity dog. No eyes in this problem. Okay, so one of the ones we see looks like 1.5. That's annoying. Another of the ones we see looks like what? Over here. Yes. So let's see if he's right. Trace 4.
It's 1.5.
It is, yep, 4 is one of them. And yes, 1.5 is another. And then if you're trying to figure out the last one, trace, it looks like -2. It is -2. Trace, they said 1.5. Are they right? Yes, they are. So technically, on this next test, if, because I am nice, even though we just had an incident, but you know what, I'm still nice. And I know that most of you understood how we figured that out. So if you were to have a problem that had all 4 real answers, and Arturo just put on his paper, saw on graph, and he explained it's -2, 1.5, and what was the other one, 4? And he explained that one had a multiplicity of 2, and he showed no work. I'm still going to give him all his points because clearly he knew what he was doing. Now, can we still proceed the way we've been proceeding, and are we still going to get the same answers Arturo just got using his graphing calculator? Yes. Heck yes. But if for some reason they are all 4 real answers, and you can literally pinpoint them from the graph, why do we need to do all this factoring stuff? The factoring stuff was like to deal with the i's, to deal with the weirdo decimals. If we can figure out the decimals and there are no i's, why do we have to factor it? I mean, I don't mind factoring, and I'm a math teacher. I like doing math all day. I can factor it, but we don't have to. But you know what? I'm a math teacher, so I'm going to anyway. So I'm going to use 4. If I use 4 with synthetic division, I've got a 2, a -3, a -24, a 4, and a 48. I bring down my 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. 5 times 4 is, thank you, 20. -4, -16, -12, -48, 0. Hot dog. Okay, so I've got x minus 4, 2x to the third, plus 5x squared, minus 4x, minus 12. And then again with the grouping. So I've got to group this. I've still got my x minus 4. In my first group, I can pull out a, I'm left with 2x plus 5. In my second group, I pull out a, and I'm left with
2x plus 6.
and how stinking annoying. Did we succeed? No. No, we didn't. And you know what? We didn't do anything wrong. I had the same thing happen to me yesterday morning when I made this problem. So you know what I did? Because this is math class, and I'm not done. I just decided, while that's great, maybe instead of trying to factor here, I already used 4 with synthetic division. Why don't I take that line and use that -2 with synthetic division? So if we'll do -2 instead and use our exact answers, the whole point of this problem, because I get Arturo already knows all 4 answers, so he's annoyed that we're still going. I get it. But the point is, even if Arturo didn't know the 4, and even if Arturo failed at the grouping, if you have other ones you can plug in with synthetic, by God, plug them in when you use synthetic. That was dumb to write that 0. And then with synthetic, I didn't fail because I still got my remainder of 0. So if Arturo is syncing it up on grouping, which he's not, that's why I can pick on him. If Arturo is syncing it up on grouping and he can just never make grouping work, if you know multiple answers, then use synthetic division multiple times. Okay, so our old one was 2x to the third. So we need to go down a degree. So now we're at squared. So I have 2x squared plus x minus 6. So that means we've done, and I'm running out of room, we already dealt with the x minus 4. That's how we got the positive 4. We already dealt with an x plus 2. That's how we got this negative 2. And now we have 2x squared plus x minus 6. So we need to factor this, and darn it, it has a leading coefficient of 2. Which sounds annoying, because you're like, okay, Miss Compton, we already factored in the math workshop. It's 8:57. I'm tired of factoring. But the beauty of it is, again, Arturo already knows all the stinking answers. He knows he was supposed to get -2 twice. Right now he only has -2 once. So when he factors this, he should be smart enough to realize one of the factors is x plus 2. Because again, to have a multiplicity of 2, it has to happen twice. So then he's like, okay, well, if that one's a 2, that means that one's got to be a 3, because 3 times 2 is 6. I guess that one's got to be a negative. Let's see. 2x squared plus 4x minus 3x, that's plus x minus 6. Sure is right. Bless you. And another reason why I knew this was correct is because we consider all 4 answers now. Positive 4, check. -2 twice, check. If I set that equal to 0, I get 1.5, check. But again, do I honestly believe Arturo is going to go through all that when he realizes they're all 4 real answers and he can find them all with his graph and calculator? No. If you're wanting to practice this, because Lord knows I've done them all, your study guide, starting on number 5 through 12, specifically 9, 10, 11, 12, would be great practice if you're wanting to go ahead and have them on your own. Study guide for me Friday, day of the test.